Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving into the mother-son bond.
Ooh.
That's right. What do sons really need from their moms in order to truly thrive?
That's a great question.
And we've got a really interesting mix of sources for this deep dive.
Oh.
We've got 2 articles from IMOM, which, always offer really warm and relatable advice.
Mm-hmm.
But then to balance that out, we've also got a piece from Psychology Today.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to be able to get into the research side of things too.
I like it.
So a little something for everyone who is listening.
Yeah, that's great.
It is interesting because, we often hear so much about the father-son dynamic.
Right.
But the mother's influence is huge.
Absolutely.
It shapes their emotional development,
Yeah.
how they interact with others,
Yeah.
even their romantic relationships years down the line.
It's true. And all 3 of the sources that we're looking at today, they all touch on the importance of warmth and responsiveness from moms.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but also a low conflict environment.
Okay, so it's not just about, being nice. It's about creating this certain atmosphere.
Exactly. And, the Psychology Today article goes into some really interesting detail on this, especially when kids are younger.
Okay.
They talk about this concept of coercive parenting,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
which honestly can trap a lot of parents without them even realizing it.
It's almost like that back and forth,
Yes.
where the parent makes a demand, the kid refuses,
Uh-huh.
things escalate, and then eventually the parent gives in just to end the fight.
Just to get some peace.
Exactly. But then they've accidentally rewarded the exact behavior they were trying to stop.
It's so true. And the research actually shows that this pattern can have some lasting consequences for boys later on.
Oh, wow.
They found that this type of parenting was linked to more behavioral problems down the road.
Oh, no.
And even kids being less accepted by their peers.
Wow. So it's not just about, keeping the peace in the moment.
It's about setting the stage for how these boys are going to handle relationships and challenges as they grow up.
Exactly.
It makes you think.
It does.
I'm trying to remember. I think there was a story in one of the IMO articles about boys playing out in the rain.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that one?
I do. The mom's instinct was to pull them back inside,
Right.
but she let them be, and they learned a very natural consequence, which was
Getting soaked.
getting totally soaked.
Yeah. Sometimes we do need to loosen the reins a little bit.
It's true.
And speaking of letting go,
Yeah.
both IMOM and the Psychology Today article talked about this balance
Yes.
between supporting your son and giving him autonomy.
It is tricky, isn't it?
It is. It's about guiding them to become independent and problem solvers,
Yeah.
but not just throwing them into the deep end.
Exactly.
And I think that reminded me of what IMOM said about respecting a son's timing when he wants to talk.
Oh, that's so important.
They may not always, want to spill their guts right away.
Of course not.
And that's okay.
Yeah, you just got to create that safe space where they feel comfortable opening up when they're ready.
Exactly. And, the Psychology Today article add kind of a twist to this. They brought up something called antagonistic parenting.
Ah, yes, I remember.
It really dives into those kind of subtle ways that we might be undermining our kids' autonomy even when we have good intentions.
Right. You think about things like manipulating your child into making a certain choice or always questioning their decisions.
Right.
It might seem harmless,
Yeah.
but the research actually shows that these tactics can backfire. They can actually hinder the development of self-regulation skills.
Yeah, so it's not enough to just avoid being controlling.
Right.
We have to be careful about sending mixed messages.
Exactly.
It's about being genuinely supportive and building trust.
I think that ties into another point that both of the IMOM articles emphasized,
Okay, what's that?
which is the importance of physical activity and letting boys really explore the outdoors.
Oh, they were very big on that.
They were, weren't they?
But it's not just about, tiring them out.
No, not at all.
Right.
Think about it. Physical outlets can be a huge help when it comes to building those self-regulation skills.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
All that energy needs to go somewhere.
exactly.
It probably helps them manage their emotions and impulses better, too.
It does. Physical activity provides a healthy way to channel that energy, and it can lead to some major improvements in their behavior overall.
That's so interesting.
It is.
I'm curious, thinking back on your own childhood, did you feel that need for physical exploration? Or maybe you see it in the young boys in your life today. It makes you wonder how these early experiences shape us.
It really does.
And speaking of shaping experiences,
Yeah.
we can't forget the role that moms play in nurturing their son's emotional intelligence.
Absolutely. That's a perfect segue into our next topic.
It is. We were just talking about how important physical activity is for boys. But now I want to shift gears a bit and talk about emotional intelligence.
Okay.
It's not just about understanding and managing their own feelings,
Right.
right? It's also about empathy and how to handle, social situations.
You're right. It really is a multifaceted skill set.
Yeah,
And both of the IM articles highlighted the crucial role that mothers play in all of this.
it's true. They're often the primary source of emotional support and guidance, especially when kids are little.
Exactly.
It makes me think about how often boys are told to just, toughen up and hide their emotions.
Oh, yeah.
So it must be even harder for them to open up when they're facing that pressure.
It is. Those traditional gender stereotypes can be real roadblocks to emotional expression.
Right.
But mothers can really challenge those norms by creating a safe space for their sons to just be themselves.
And I had some really practical tips for how to actually do that.
Oh, like what?
Like asking boys how they feel instead of assuming or telling them how they should feel.
It's so simple, but it's huge.
It is.
It validates their emotions and encourages them to actually tune in to their own internal experience.
Right. And encouraging them to consider other people's perspectives and feelings can be powerful too.
Absolutely.
It's like, how do you think your friend felt when you said that?
Exactly.
It helps them develop empathy and realize the impact of their words and actions.
It's planting those early seeds of emotional awareness.
And it's not always about those big, serious conversations either.
Right.
Like I talked about how even those small, everyday interactions can make a difference.
I love that part.
Me too. Like asking your son for fashion advice or what he thinks about decorating choices.
Yeah.
It shows him that his opinion matters and that he can be himself, even in areas that might not be considered traditionally masculine.
It's all about building that trust and rapport.
Exactly.
So we've covered warmth, autonomy, physical activity, and now emotional intelligence.
That's a lot.
It is. We're painting a pretty comprehensive picture here of what sons need to thrive.
I think so. And, all three sources really emphasize the importance of a positive mother-son relationship overall.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about avoiding negative patterns.
Right.
It's about proactively building a strong and supportive connection.
And I thought one of the IMOM articles, What Sons Learn from Their Mothers, 5 Essentials.
Yes.
It gave a really useful framework for thinking about this.
It did.
They outlined those 5 key areas: feeling valued, relating to women, healthy touched, trusting confidence, and of course, emotional intelligence.
All essential ingredients.
They are.
And they're all interconnected,
Oh, absolutely.
Like when a mom consistently shows she believes in her son's abilities,
Wow.
well, she's not only building his confidence,
Right.
she's also strengthening their bond and reinforcing his sense of self-worth.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is, and it highlights that nurturing this relationship is a continuous process.
Yeah, whether your son is 5 or 15, there are always opportunities to connect
So true.
and to just deepen that bond.
Absolutely. And it's never too late to start incorporating these principles into your parenting.
That's good to hear. But, amidst all this great advice, this Psychology Today article threw in a bit of a curveball.
Oh, really? What was that?
They talked about how the way mothers express anger can really impact their sons.
That is interesting. They weren't saying mothers should never get angry,
Right.
but that how they express it makes a big difference.
Yeah. They cited research showing that when moms express anger in a hostile or critical way,
Yeah.
it can actually damage their son's self-esteem and lead to more behavioral problems.
So it's not about the anger itself. It's about
Right.
the way it's communicated.
The study found that boys were much more sensitive to their mom's anger when it was expressed with hostility or criticism,
Wow.
even compared to how they reacted to their dad's anger.
It really shows how important that dynamic is.
Yeah. It kind of makes sense when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
For many boys, their mom is their primary caregiver.
Right.
So her emotions carry a lot of weight.
They do, but the good news is the research also found that when mothers express anger constructively,
Oh,
like setting boundaries without putting their sons down,
yeah.
it can have a positive impact.
So it's all about balance.
It is being authentic with your emotions, but also being mindful of how you express them.
Exactly.
And that leads us to another interesting point from the Psychology Today article.
Okay, what's that?
The impact of a mother's own emotional well-being on her son.
Oh, that's a great point.
It is.
But before we dive into that,
Yeah.
let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've learned so far,
Sounds good.
because we have covered a lot. Okay, so before we wrap up, I'm really curious to dig into that last point you made
Yeah.
about the link between a mom's own well-being and how her son develops.
You know, it's such a crucial aspect and often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
But that Psychology Today article highlighted research showing that a mother's emotional state can have a big impact on her son's emotional regulation and social skills.
So it's not just about what a mom teaches her son about emotions.
Oh, no.
It's also about how she handles her own feelings.
It's about modeling emotional health.
Exactly.
You know, kids are so perceptive.
They really are.
They pick up on their parents' emotional cues from such a young age.
It's true. And if a mom is struggling with her own well-being,
Yeah,
it can create a less stable environment for her son
it's true.
and make it harder for him to learn to manage his own emotions.
Right, it's like trying to learn to swim in a choppy ocean
Oh, that's a good analogy.
instead of a nice calm pool.
Right.
And the research actually found that boys whose mothers had higher levels of depression or anxiety,
Okay.
they tended to have more trouble with emotional regulation and social interactions.
That is a powerful reminder that taking care of our own mental health isn't selfish.
It's not.
It's actually part of being a good parent.
Absolutely. You're creating a more stable and nurturing environment where your son can thrive.
And that reminds me of the IMOM article, 5 Things Boys Need from Their Moms.
Yeah,
Remember that one?
I do.
Talked about moms needing support too.
Yes, feeling supported and connected.
Exactly.
It's easier to be a present parent when you have your own support system.
So true.
And, you know, it's like the oxygen mask on an airplane.
Right.
You got to put yours on first before you can help anyone else.
Exactly. And on that note of support systems,
Yeah.
both IMOM and the Psychology Today article talked about how moms don't have to go it alone.
That's right.
They emphasize the importance of dads, grandparents, and other positive male role models in a boy's life.
It does take a village.
It really does.
And I thought it was interesting how they pointed out that involving fathers more in caregiving can actually help everyone.
Absolutely.
It reduces stress on moms. It strengthens that father-son connection.
Yeah.
And it creates a more balanced home environment.
That's a win-win.
It is. It really is.
And it challenges those traditional gender roles, too.
That's so important.
It shows boys that caring for others is a shared responsibility.
Wow. As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm feeling a sense of both awe and responsibility.
I know what you mean.
This bond between a mother and her son is so powerful.
Powerful and complex.
It can shape a boy's whole life, but it's also this constantly evolving journey.
It is.
We've learned that it's about so much more than just the basics.
Of course.
It's about creating this loving and supportive environment where boys can explore and express themselves.
And grow into confident, compassionate young men.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that no mom is perfect.
Right. We're all human.
We all make mistakes. But what matters is that we keep learning and keep trying our best.
That's what matters. And for those of you listening, as you reflect on the mother-son relationships in your own lives,
Yeah.
remember what we've talked about today.
Right.
Whether you're a mom, a son, or just someone who wants to better understand this dynamic, use this knowledge to build even stronger and more meaningful connections.
Great advice.
The journey is ongoing and the rewards are huge.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us.
It was my pleasure.